Hi boys and girls. I know we've already went over week number 8 spelling, but since we're at the end of the year, first grade, we always have 8 spelling units that we don't get to because there's more weeks in the school year than there are Letterland units. There's 45 Letterland units, and week 8 was unit 37. So we're going to quickly in this video cover each of the skills. So it's very important you watch this. This would be unit 38 from Letterland, and it's on contractions. And you've worked with contractions before, but not an awful lot. Let's take the words is not. For example, Bouncy Ben is not scared. There's a shorter way to say is not. You can turn it into a contraction. And so what happens in Letterland, let me get a magnet over here, is when you make a contraction, you're squeezing 2 words together. Instead of saying is not, you say isn't. And when you squeeze those together, there's like a little explosion that happens in Letterland. And all that's left of that little explosion is that apostrophe. So is not, when you make it into a contraction, you squeeze those 2 letters together, and then it becomes isn't. And there's what's left of the little explosion in Letterland. So I'm going to turn my screen around. We'll look at some more contractions. So on this side, I've got more contraction words, and we'll talk about all the little explosions that happen. So here we have a list of 4 words that are contractions, and they have N apostrophe T in it, just like the is not that we had. So we have haven't that used to be have not. So those 2 words are pushed together and a little explosion happened. And then all that's left of that O and the explosion is the apostrophe. So we have haven't, don't, which is short for do not, excuse me, isn't, which we just talked about. And then we have wasn't, short for was not. Sorry. Then here we have some words that have apostrophe LL. They'll, which would be short for they will, they'll. Here, 2 letters got left out, the WI, and that's what's left of the explosion. He'll, which would be short for he will, or I'll, short for I will. Now, it can also be short for shall, but we don't say shall much, like they shall, they'll, he shall, he'll, I will, or I shall, I'll. And then we have some contractions with the apostrophe S. She's, like she has. There's, there is. That could be also she is. What's, what is. Now there are lots more words that you can see that have the apostrophe with the contractions. Do not get these confused with possessive nouns like Mrs. Lanier's shirt. That means I own the shirt. These apostrophe are left from the explosion when some of the words are left out. So let's move on to our next unit. All right, boys and girls, this is our next skill that we did not get to. It would be unit 39 in Letterland. And so here, Sammy Snake is in all of the beginnings of our words. And we've done some Sammy Snake words where we had the blends like ST and SP. But here we have 3 letters together. These are stir words. Spur, skr, spl. And so let's look at them. We have street, straw, string, spring, spray, scream, scrub, scrape, splash, and split. So those are just extra Sammy Snake blends that I wanted to touch on very briefly with you. Let's do our next unit. So boys and girls, this will be unit 40 of Letterland if we were doing it as a spelling lesson, but we're just reviewing, getting you ready for 2nd grade, and it's on compound words. Compound words we've studied, you know that's when it's 2 words that are standalone words like camp and site. When you push them together, you get a new word, campsite. Woodchuck, when you push it together, you get woodchuck. Moonlight, push together, you get moonlight. Spotlight, push it together, compound word spotlight. Evergreen, evergreen. grandfather, grandfather. Headlight, headlight. Sunset, sunset. Wingspan, wingspan. Somebody, somebody. So that was compound words. Let's do the next one. So this would be Unit 41 of Letterland. And you recognize giant full. We've talked about giant full several times, how in this card he's turned to the side so you can only see one leg. When he's turned to the front, you see the two L's, which are his legs. But we have not talked about the ly. This says Lee. It says Lucy and the Yo-Yo Man together say Lee in over 4,000 words, especially adverbs, and we had a little unit on adverbs too. And they're in words like slowly, suddenly, heartily, lonely, gladly. And you'll remember Yellow Yo-Yo Man does Mr. E's job. We don't know how much he gets paid for it, but Mr. E pays him some money, and so he's in a lot of words. But here he's with Lucy Lamplight and they say Lee. And then here, of course, we have full, hopeful, harmful, painful, handful, and grateful. And just to read the card as a review to you, it says lazy old giant fool leans on other words whenever he can. Then we can't see his second leg because he is turned sideways. So that was our Lee and full words. Let's do our next unit. So this would be Unit 42 of Letterland that we'll review very quickly. This week, or on this skill, we are using prefixes. Now prefixes are pieces of words that you can add to the beginning of a word that changes its meaning. Here we have some re words, like replay. So if you take the word play and add re to it, it means you do it again, replay. Heat, reheat, it means heat it again. Tell, retell, tell it again. Read, reread, read it again. Fill, refill, fill it up again. So these are called prefixes. Anytime you put something at the beginning of the word and it changes the meaning. This re means to do it again. Here we have un, and if you put the prefix un in front, unpack. If you put un in front of pack, it means take it apart, unpack your stuff. Happy, it means you're not happy. Unkind means you're not kind. So un means not. Undo, to not do, do it backwards. Unlock, so take it and unlock it. So there are lots of other prefixes, but those are the only ones that were in that week's Letterland, re and un. Let's do the next one. So boys and girls, this unit would be like Unit 43 in Letterland that we're going to look at very quickly. We have magic, ER. So let's see what the back of the card says. It says, sometimes Ernest grabs the magic E, but he never discovers that the magic sparks can still reach over to make any vowel man appear and say his name. Often these sparks need to be blocked. And they're in words like later, and if you'll notice, that E that Ernest has captured is a magic E. He didn't realize it. He thought it was maybe Eddie Elephant. And so it's shooting sparks over that T, making the A say its name, later. Here, magic E, caught in the web, the bag, shooting sparks over the T. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Remember, Mr. U can say two sounds, U or oo. Cuter, slower. There, Mr. O's popping up. Closer. Here, let's look at the EST. This is also a magic ending. It's just as powerful as magic E, or magic ED, or magic ER. This EST means the most. So when we see this, like if it's closest, it's the most to you, slowest, latest, cutest. But look at that. You see Eddie Elephant and he's shooting sparks. So really, it's that magic E, but It's making it say its name. Mr. O saying his name. Mr. O saying his name because of those sparks shooting over that one letter. Latest shooting over the T. Cutest shooting over the T. So let's do our next unit. So boys and girls, this will be like unit 44 in Letterland. And we have not talked about this yet. It's called Candle Magic. So I'm going to read about Candle Magic for you. It says, Candle Magic changes Lucy into a magic candle with the magic E for its handle. Candle magic sparks often need to be blocked. So here I've got two kinds of candle magic, where the vowel man's saying his name, and then we have our short vowel sounds. So if you'll notice, our candle magic, we've got this E making those sparks shoot over Lucy Lamplight and making her have magic too. So here we have title, stable, table, able. So you don't hear that magic E. You never hear the magic E. The short vowel sound, candle, apple, pebble, struggle. Here it wasn't shooting the sparks over to make it say its name. So sometimes Candle Magic can do vowel man's names and the short vowels. Let's do our last unit. So this is our last one that we need to cover. We've talked about this. I went ahead and showed you this card several months ago when we were doing two vowels out walking. We were doing the Mr. E and Mr. A. Remember when two vowels go out walking? Well, remember sometimes when they go out walking, I showed you this card, and sometimes Eddie Elephant kind of sneaks up behind them, and Mr. E doesn't get to say his name. You can see Mr. A still looking out for robbers, but what happens is Eddie Elephant says his name. So this card says eh. Now we have two kinds of cards here today. I've got one syllable cards. We've studied syllables before, like my name, Donna, has two syllables. These have one piece to them. You won't move your chin. There's only one clap with them. Breath, breath. Head, head. You don't say head. Spread, bread. And these Eddie Elephant sneaking up behind them words have two syllables in them, two parts, like meadow, weather, ready, heavy. And so the reason why I put my hand there, remember I taught you, that's one way you can do them. You can just hold your hand there, and every time your chin touches your hand, you know that's a syllable, like la, near. Two syllables in my last name. But that's old news for you guys. But I just wanted to show you our last unit of words that have that F sound. Hope you enjoyed our quick spelling.